Implausible Nature now has dice. That's right, you can get these awesome D6s made by our partner, Baron of Dice. These custom dice have the Implausible Nature logo on the six side and also come with square corners, which means they will roll more evenly than rounded corner dice. Head on over to baronofdice.com and use discount code IN40K to get a discount on your order and support us at the same time. Check out his full collection of dice for all your gaming needs with the link down in the description.
Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's tips, I've got Bob with me today. We're going to talk some Math Hammer. The topic of today's video is Gone Fishing. What do we mean by that? You may have heard this term. You may have heard people talk about this. Fishing for crits, fishing for sixes. What does that mean exactly? So that means is that let's say we all know that critical hits happen on a six. With Helbert, they happen on a 5+. It's a natural roll for that. And some things trigger on that. Things like sustained hits and lethal hits, both of which we have access to in Righteous Crusaders via a vow or the stratagem that gives us the vow. The idea here is that if you have full rerolls to hit, when is it worth it to roll all your dice, you set aside your hits that are sixes, and then you re-roll everything else, even your hits, which you can do because it's a free re-roll. Re-roll everything else to try to get more sixes. So when is that worth it? So that's what we're going to talk about on today's video. We're going to look at lethal, we're going to look at sustained, and we're going to look at lethal and sustained combined together and find out what exactly is the best time to get out your fishing rod and go fishing. First, before we dive into the chart, I do want to give a really big shout out to one of our users on the Discord, Zebra Dolphin. He put together this spreadsheet that did all the math for us, made it look really pretty. Big, huge shout out and thank you to him for doing that for me. Means I didn't have to go and do all this math. So thank you so much for your assistance with that. Greatly appreciate it. So as we take a look here, we've got two charts that we're going to go over. One of them much more commonly used than the other one. The first one is going to be the one that we commonly use here. So as we look at it, how do we read this chart? So what this means is if you're hitting on a 3+, and you need a 6 or you need a 5, what is the percentage change in the number of wounds you get based on what your wound roll is? So to give an example, Crusaders, if you are hitting on 3s, which they do, and you have lethal hits, so we're looking at this middle box here, and you wound on a 4+, and you re-roll, and fish for it, and you need 6s, you're actually taking a negative gain of negative 7.5%. So as we look at this chart here, it's pretty apparent when we really want to fish for 6s. What are your thoughts on this math, Bob? Some of these numbers are kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, when you're looking at this, one thing that really kind of stood out to me is the fishing for sustained hits is significantly downside. What you're really kind of seeing here is you just want to take what you get, reroll the fails, and go from there. You don't want to risk losing some of your hits to get some of that. So just go for the failed hits. It kind of goes against the trends and the commonly accepted idea that fishing for crits is a positive thing. But it really only works and is beneficial the worst chance you have at wounding your opponent.
Yeah. And you might be thinking, well, but Alex and Bob, now it's since been nerfed, but Necrons were just running Plasmancers and Immortals and, fishing for their crits all the time. Why were they so successful with that? Why was that such a good combo? The big difference there is, number one, they're critting on fives, which you can see here is a flat gain. So you're basically going to wash out. You do have the potential to spike, but the average chance is you're going to wash out and be the same. The difference is Immortals Tesla has sustained hits too, so which we basically don't have access to. Um, there's only a couple of models in our army that have sustained hits too. The Reaper, Gladiator Reaper comes to mind.
Yep.
In which case, fishing for sixes or fives there in certain detachments can be worth it. But for the most part, fishing for sustained hits, I was very surprised to see that it's really a net negative gain most of the time. The other big thing, I was thinking that if you're wounding on fives or sixes, when you have lethal, that would probably be a positive gain. And indeed it is when you wound on sixes. It's a 12.5% gain when you're hitting on threes with lethal hits only. But it actually works out to be even when you wound on a 5+. Um, so, what does all this mean as far as our units? Well, Crusaders are going to benefit greatly from this when we look at them going into something uh, tanky, right? And we've got two profiles in our Crusader squads: our chainswords and our power fists. And so basically, if you've got lethal hits on that Crusader squad, and it goes into something that the chainswords are gonna wound on a 6+, and the power sword or power fists are gonna wound on a 5+. You want to just re-roll your regular failed hits on the power fists and fish for sixes or fives, depending on who's with that squad with the Crusaders. So that's if you hit on a 3+. What if you hit on a 2+? We do have our characters, some of whom, Helbert and the Emperor's Champion in particular, who have a lot of attacks. Should we fish for sixes on those? And as you can see here on this next chart, the odds are much more favorable.
Yep.
A lot more green on here. And the reason is because only ones fail. So it's literally half the chance as the three hitting on threes to fail with your second roll. So much more upside with these, but still sustained hits, not so great.
No.
So
Yeah, the big difference here on the sustained hits is really going to be only applicable there. A positive net gain is for Helbert
yeah,
because he gives himself the 5 critical and then he hits on 2s. So that one's a good one there, giving the sustained hits vow. Especially if you're comboing them with like a Stellan who already has the lethal hits given to
yep,
the unit. As you can see, that top bracket, you're going to be significant bonuses on
pretty much
your,
across the board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and down here at the bottom with sustained hits only, this would be applicable to the Reaper in that situation that we talked about earlier. If you have a Tech Marine nearby, can get him to hit on twos, and then you utilize the Mercy's weakness strat from the Iron Storm detachment. That is where you're going to see. And now he'll have lethal and sustained as well, I believe, because Um, it gives both in that because of the aura from the Tech Marine. So you'd have both, and you can see, depending on what your wound roll is, you're benefiting greatly from that combo. And that's pretty much the only combo I can think of for Space Marines.
yep.
Perhaps the Firestorm, or not Firestorm, perhaps the bolter discipline, or fire discipline, I guess it's called now, in the Gladius detachment. Might have some of those options as well. So yeah. So that's the video, guys. A little longer than our normal Templar tips, but definitely I think this is really crucial. Take some screenshots of these, save these for your game so that you know when is going to be the right time to go fishing for those crits for your Templars. So until next time, keep on crusading.